After 3 days of hiking, opening morning was finally upon us. Anticipations were high as we arose well before the sun. After a couple cups of coffee and a light breakfast, we made our way to the spotting locations we found the day before. I headed off in the dark to glass into the canyon to the north. Mike headed off in the dark to the south to glass into Sawmill Creek that we had hiked through over the last several days. And Jess and Eric headed east to glass into the bowl above the old sawmill and wall tent that we passed 2 days earlier. We spent the whole morning glassing, picking apart the countryside with binoculars and spotting scopes, looking for signs of movement, trying to find a deer bedded down under the junipers, the pines, or the mahogany trees, looking for the twitch of an ear or the turn of a head, though as luck would have it, none of us saw any movement. After the morning spent glassing and a nice lunch, Mike and Eric headed off on a daily water run, where once again they were met by some bighorn sheep and wild horses. While Mike and Eric went to get water, Jessica and I headed over to the canyon to the south of the Pine Creek Canyon to do some scouting and early evening glassing. When we got there was a tent in the canyon. So we came back to the Pine Creek Canyon, sat on the top of the ledge, and did some glassing until it was getting dark. Once again, on the second morning, we were up early, well before the sun. We enjoyed some nice hot coffee and a little breakfast before we headed back to the same glassing spots we used on opening day. I headed north, Mike to the south, and Jess and Eric headed east. At about 8:30, Eric got our attention, and Mike and I headed over. They had spotted 2 bucks and 4 or 5 does in the meadow below, at about 800 yards below their position. So we came up with a game plan to try a flush to try to drive the deer into an opening. Eric worked his way over the next ridge, shown in green on the map, as Jessica and I dropped lower to get in a better position and close the distance, shown in purple. When we were in position, Mike dropped down behind a ridge and worked his way up from the bottom of the meadow from the bowl. And as he was doing this, the deer indeed did flush back up into the bowl. He continued on till he was in a good vantage point. But the deer hung up in thick cover, and so I then dropped down into the bowl and tried to do a zigzag pattern to try to get the deer to flush up to Jessica so she might have a shot. They say that best laid plans don't always work, but we did have a great hunt that day. And that afternoon, we came up with plans for the next day's hunt.
So Mike and I are going to get some water because Jesse's taking a nap. You like that poofy, don't you? Yeah. Eric? Alright, guard the fort, okay? And Mike's got his gun just in case we see a mountain lion, because I got a mountain lion tag on me. And it's a pretty sweet little base camp. We got about a 1.5 mile run to get water. And then we'll be back.
As Mike and I made the water run, once again we were met by some bighorn sheep. When we got back from the water run, we devised a plan where Jessica and Eric would stay up on top and hunt the bull they hunted the 2 days before, while Mike and I would drop down to the base camp at the lake, hunt there in the morning, and then meet them down in the valley below the bull they were hunting. Mike and I spent the night at the base camp by the lake, and in the morning we got up early and glassed into the meadow where we saw the deer the day before opening day. After that, we broke camp and headed down the canyon to rendezvous with Jess and Eric, as they had glassed up on the top of the mountain that morning, packed up their camp, and were doing one last drive out of the canyon in hopes that they would flush deer towards us.
It's the third morning of hunting season. The day before hunting season opened up, I saw 2 bucks and 3 does in this little pasture right here. Since then, we hiked up to the top of the ridge and been hunting up there. Saw some nice bucks yesterday, did a couple drives. No luck. So this morning, we moved down to this little meadow in hopes that we might be able to see those deer again. No guarantees. It's a beautiful morning. Got Mike sitting there, taking a snooze. I'll let you know if we see any action. So we didn't see anything this morning, so we're dropping down into this meadow. Good look on the other side of the knoll. Look closely here, though. Some pine cones in it, but it's definitely a bed where deer have been bedded down. It doesn't look like he was in there today, though. With those pine cones in there. There's Mike. Hiking through the pines. Okay, so we hunted this morning up by the lake. Mike and I did. Didn't see any movement. Jessica and Eric, they hunted where they saw the deer last night, yesterday when we tried to do the drive. So, Jessica's up there, stationed up there at the top. And then Eric is up there, scoping the top of the canyon. Mike and I broke camp, our base camp, this morning after the hunt. We came down here, and now Jessica and Eric are working their way into this meadow here, hoping that if there's some deer held up in that canyon, in that bowl, that we'd be able to get them. At least have a shot. It's big country, though. There's a lot of escape routes. Alright, so hopefully the next video will be of some deer coming down the hill.
Look, he's carrying something. Let's go forward.
There's the hunters. Tried to flip some deer down to us. Did you wave at them?
Yep.
just dropped out of this canyon here up at the top. I think Eric was on the east side over here. And Jessica was, can't really see it from here, but on the west side of the ridge. Then they met in the middle. We were really hoping they would have flushed something to us.
Probably should
Looks like they're walking a little slow. It's a lot of weight on her back.
Should we grab our bags?
Yep.
Why don't you just head in the meadow? We'll grab our bags.
After the morning spent glassing and one last drive to try to flush some deer, we had lunch at the Sawmill Meadow and then made our way out of the canyon, knowing that while we didn't get a deer on those 3 days, all of us experienced something.